Since I started in it super young, I think it was just my life. Like it didn't have a meaning outside of it just being like a purpose.
Hello and welcome to a second season of Captured in the Spotlight. I'm Adriana Gentile, and on today's episode, we get a glimpse into the life of Montreal singer-songwriter December Rose.
Hi guys, I'm December Rose, and I was captured in the spotlight.
I was captured in the spotlight. Ooh. You know music makes your dreams come true. I know what you need when the music gives you feels, and I love the way it makes you move. I was captured in the spotlight. Ooh. You know music makes your dreams come true.
My Italian name is Rosa Maria. It doesn't really work very well. Like a lot of English people just don't really say it well. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's just keep it at Rosie. But when I was picking an artist name, I was running with Rosemary for a while. Just like I didn't really like. I had just gotten started, and I think after 2 years or so, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. It wasn't good for what I was trying to do. So finally, my mom came up with the name because December for my birth month, and Rose the first part of my name. I didn't want to be like too out there in finding like something completely different of a name. I felt like maybe that would be just jarring for me to have this alter ego. But I thought, yeah, I was like, yeah, December Rose. I'm like, it makes sense. It's factual. I could roll with that. But my mom said I started singing when I was still in diapers. There was a commercial paparazzi coming to Montreal to the Bell Center, and as the commercial played, I apparently sung back the commercial like after it was over. So she's like, oh, maybe there's a little something in this kid. My personal earliest memory is I was maybe about like 4 or 5, and I think someone had given us like a kind of a piano, but it was a mini organ. I didn't know how to play it, so I used to just smash around on the keys and like try to write songs like that, but obviously it was awful. So my parents then enrolled me finally in piano lessons and some singing lessons, and slowly but surely I just kind of like, you know, took it more professionally and got competitive and started to like build something out of it. And when I was around 13, 14, I started to like look into, you know, like maybe some CJEPs and what kind of lied ahead and what I would need to do. So that's when I started getting more professional coaches and taking my studies more seriously. So finally I went to Vanier and Concordia and studied music, and now here I am, and I just kind of like work in the music industry full time, and I'm really lucky to be able to do that. I did have a lot of resistance at the beginning, but I think as my parents just saw the kind of my work ethic and my dedication to the craft, and that I was building and just, I guess, taking it seriously, that I wasn't kind of in it to just go and party to all hours of the night. You know, if I was going out, it was to network or to play a gig or to do something, always like for my growth. Right now I'm working on finishing up my album that's been a little bit delayed because of the COVID situation, but we're wrapping it up. It's almost finished. I mean, it's done. It's just a couple of like logistics and some strategies and plans that we're putting together, but that should be out this year. If I had it my way within the next like 3 years or so, I would love to be able to hit the road and like kind of go get back into the whole gig thing and back to connecting with people and doing some live concerts. Definitely like being able to collaborate some more in person with people and not just virtually. It's kind of like a little bit of a drag to do it that way. Yeah, and if I have the opportunity to be able to do some like voiceover work for animations, but we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of taking it a day at a time right now because I don't want to pump my brain up with like too much adrenaline of what we could do and then it's not going to pan out. I really looked up to Adele and Amy Winehouse. They were kind of like my first queens. And then slowly it evolved into someone like Gavin DeGraw and Jessie J as they kind of came about in the business. But now I'd say if I had a dream collaborator, for sure, Sia Furler, or like Sia from the collaborator with David Guetta, and Adele for sure. It was my first big independent single since leaving a record label. It's called Raise Your Voice. So I got some American radio play on that, and it got some like industry recognition. So I won top 40 artist of the year in 2020, and I think that was like the first kind of big accolade that I was like, doing something right. I wrote when we were young over several years of just kind of like reflecting on a lot of media and just political issues, and so I guess I was inspired by a lot of the kids that I work with in teaching, because I'm also a vocal coach. I was inspired by a lot of them just in how they found a lot of like joy in simple things like coloring or getting a sticker after class, or, you know, having playtime with their friends. And I guess it made me a little like nostalgic, and also a little envious even about like that youth that sometimes we can lose along the way, the youth that we get distracted from with the stress of everyday life and just a lot of problems that we have. So they were a big source of inspiration for me to kind of just craft this lyric and this idea of feeling hopeful, feeling optimistic, but reflecting and saying like, you know, when we were young, things were so much better. And even though when we were little, maybe they didn't seem that way, but they were so much better. So now let's kind of like go back to that, even mentally, just to recapture and cross our steps again. Like, what do we do that differently then that we haven't done now? So that we can be more, you know, friendly and loving and graceful. This is my original song called When We Were Young.
When we were young, every girl was a queen, difference was unseen. When we were young, when Barbies were toys and cars were for boys. When we were young, and the gender we had was neither good or bad. When we were young, when we were young. Oh, when we were young, and love was fine. Oh, when we were young, lost in